Good morning, I'm Lexa. Uniforms in schools have become increasingly common in the United States. According to the primary federal entity, the U.S. National Center of Educational Statistics found that 20% of public schools required that students wear uniforms. This number has increased from previous years. Mandating uniforms in schools has impacted aspects regarding social conformity, individuality, and even family economics. Many students, parents, teachers, and entire school districts are exploring the possibility of taking away school uniforms. This gives rise to one primary question. To what extent do school uniforms impact students' lives in the United States? As we can see in this chart, the percentages are going up by the year. The problem with this is, as more schools start to require uniforms, the more conformity that occurs. Conformity affects the way students act, behave, and who they become. Schools that require uniforms create synchrony. As the synchrony is created, it is made clear the negative effects that result from uniforms at school. The stimulus article, Cultural Evolutionary Trade-off of Ritualistic Synchrony, connects to this by showing the negative effects that come from this synchrony. The author explains how studies have found that synchrony made people more likely to copy majority opinions rather than following their own preferences. While creating an environment where everyone is the same, the stimulus also explains how conformity takes away people's creativity. With uniforms becoming the mandated in schools, students begin to conform and dress the same as their peers. This takes away students' individuality. This chart shows many of the reasons students don't favor uniforms. Students often dislike the hot, the itchy feeling. They also believe it takes away their sense of fashion. The stimulus article, Ultra-fast fashion is eating the world economically, makes a great point that can be connected with this issue. The author explains how worldwide clothing production doubled from 2000 to 2015. This was while prices were dropping. We were spending the same amount on clothing while getting nearly twice as many clothes from it. From this, we can see how countless new pieces of clothing are put on the market each and every day, which gives these students a variety of options to choose from and express their creativity and individuality. The same author of the stimulus mentions how it was found that at Forever 21, 400 new designs were created to keep up with buyers' daily purchases. We can see how thousands of stores are selling a variety of increasing amounts of clothing. This gives kids plenty of options to choose from and express their appearance. My research question led me to argue that uniforms need to be removed from schools. This is what a typical uniform set looks like for guys and girls. Some may argue that uniform conformity is beneficial for the teaching environment. A survey conducted by a team of researchers in the Department of Psychology found that teachers mentioned sometimes having to enforce uniform-related rules, which can take time and effort away from studies and time that should be spent learning. However, contrary to this belief, it has been found that many other teachers oppose this thought, and studies have found no significant advantages of uniforms. Joanna Reedy, graduate from the Wellington School of Medicine, found results from a study of teachers. These teachers found that overall it appears that while uniforms are a factor that stops distractions in class, they are also showing that there has been no direct impact on academic achievement, on test scores, and they overall doesn't improve educational outcomes. All these studies came from direct teacher surveys based on their reflections of first-hand experience teaching in a classroom full of conformed students. Teachers observe students every day and consistently argue that there haven't been any proven advantages. Since clothing has become more economically affordable, parents believe that there is no logic to require the extra expensive uniforms. Kids are already spending money on clothing that they like, therefore demanding uniforms in schools just results in more money that has to be spent. With more than a decade's worth of experience in the communications and operations field of study, Claire Brickett conducted a study that said 95% of parents said that they think these costs are unreasonable. About 16% said they have had to cut back on food and other essentials to pay for uniforms, and 13% said that it's pushed them into debt. Parents look at uniforms from an economic point of view, and they don't favor this additional financial burden that it'll put on them. Many schools have suggested a solution to this matter. The idea is to keep uniforms and initiate a monthly dress-down day. While the intention of a dress-down day is to allow students a day to wear what they wish, relaxing dress policies for even a day defeats the whole intention of the uniforms. That one day does not give students entire freedom of individuality, as students are still being conformed every other day of the year. While this method may seem beneficial, it is unreasonable as it does not address the problem directly. A considerable solution is to lower the price of uniforms. Since many parents argue that the cost of uniforms is too high, lowering the price will meet the family's needs. The problem with this solution is that although uniforms are more affordable, this does not fix the conformity and individuality issues that come from uniforms overall. Lowering the price of uniforms will fix this issue, but does not fix the overall issues that uniforms create. Here's what a typical dress code consists of. A fair dress code will solve uniform conformity and promote students' character growth through expression of clothing. Despite all the advantages that a dress code would create, many girl students would argue that the solution is not flawless. Kira Barrett, researcher and writer for the National Education Association, explains how girls are targeted at. With the dress code, the focus revolves around body parts such as backs, shoulders, and legs for the female anatomy. Although this does meet the intention of stopping distractions in class, this occurs by clearly limiting girls' variety of clothes. Although there are limitations to this solution, it does meet the needs of students. If schools instead consider updating their dress code policy and making it more gender neutral, then this would be the most efficient and optimal solution. Although dress code is not perfect, it is necessary as it is the most effective. Students can express themselves within reason, making this the best solution. Establishing a school dress code is necessary in addressing the issue that comes from school uniforms.
1 second. The bell is about to ring. If it does, just wait, and then we'll keep going. Okay.
From many parents, teachers, and students' perspectives, one can see how this is the most effective solution. Although this may be difficult to transition, it is vital to reach positive outcomes overall. It is important we take this matter into consideration and address it before it's considered normal and this issue advances.
All right, so 2 questions for your oral defense. So my first question that I have for you is, how did your research question evolve as you moved through the research process?
My research question evolved as I moved through from the research, I was originally explaining how uniforms affected the school system. Then I realized that overall the school system includes people such as parents, teachers, and other people that have to be taken into consideration, and it's too broad overall. So I decided to use these perspectives and instead work towards just focusing around students. And when we did that, I could tie my research question just revolving around how students overall are impacted by these uniforms instead of the school system in general.
Okay. And my next question for you is, what are the implications of your findings to your local community?
Okay. There are implications from my findings on the community. We can look at how there are benefits that come from a school dress code. We can see how overall in the community, students' freedom of expression, their individuality, and all of these factors that come from being allowed to dress how they like at school. This, with creativity and all of these factors, this leads to more ideas and more things that can be taken outside of the school system and instead evolve into the school communities. And we can build off of each other when we get to each express our own ideas and work towards working as a community.
Okay. Well done. You turn the camera off.